Hello, in this video I'll be playing through episode 4 of Interrogation You'll Be Deceived, illustrating how you can get a confession and win the episode, hopefully without having to resort to any enhanced interrogation techniques. This is intended to help you if you're stuck, and I strongly suggest you stop the video once you feel you have what you need to finish the conversational puzzle on your own, so that you don't ruin your experience of the game. There are many ways to finish an episode, and I will only be showing you one of them, so try and discover your own. Let's start with the case before us. In episode 4, we have to deal with the aftermath of an explosion, a string of explosions that happened throughout the city that we were not able to track and defuse in time. We defused one of the bombs, but more of them blew up in the city. One of these bombs was placed in an office building. More specifically, through forensic evidence, we deduced that it was placed on the 13th floor of the building. Quite ominous. Also, by looking at the video footage of a surveillance camera in one of the elevators, we found out that only 3 people actually stopped on the 13th floor of that building, which was actually closed down for renovations. So these people shouldn't have been there since the floor was out of use, but these are the only 3 people that actually stopped there. So let's see who they are. First of all, we have Maya Clark. She's an employee in that building. She has no criminal record, and her performance reports show she's a hardworking, committed employee. Secondly, we have Alex Novak. He's a man that we couldn't find too much about. We know he had several name changes throughout the years, and that his recent medical records state he's possibly suffering from a form of schizophrenia. He's been receiving care and medication from Humanitas, a charity founded by Gabriel Adams. Gabriel Adams is this man. He's a well-known and respected local priest that has been preaching in the city for the last few years. He leads Humanitas, a Christian charity focused on helping people with disabilities or special needs. And very interestingly, Humanitas has actually had so much success in the recent years through donations that they actually rented the 13th floor, and they were supposed to have their headquarters there, so presumably that's why it was under renovations. So all of these people had unrestricted access to the building and then to that floor, and all of them stopped on that floor at the same time. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna try to understand why these people are there. Why were they there? Let's introduce ourselves to Miss Clark, and we're gonna try to intimidate her into telling us more. And she says it was quite a tragedy. She doesn't know what happened. But let's see. Why were you there? We have video footage of you stopping there, and that makes you one of our main suspects. She seems very scared of that, very distraught by that and angered. Let's ask what happened there. Why did you go there? She says it's always free, barely anyone there. Okay, but what did you do while she was there? So she says she went there to smoke. So she seems to be telling us that she goes often to the 13th floor because it's calm and quiet and it's a place where she can get a smoke. Cool. Let's check with Gabriel Adams. Let's introduce ourselves. Let's tell him that he's a murdering terrorist so that it raises our fear with him. And he tells us that he came here without a lawyer. He's just here to help, and we should drop that tone. We're gonna do just that after we tell him that he's our main suspect and that we want to know why did he stop there. And he says he was there to inspect renovations on that floor. That's a good reason. Nothing strange there. What did you do? He says he assessed the status of the renovation. So his story is very consistent. And if we go to Alex, again, scare him as well. Here we have an interesting option. We can tell him that he'll be out of here in no time, so try to calm him down. Sort of take the professional middle ground, saying that his input will be very useful in our investigation. Or try to mock him, sort of try to anger him maybe, and let's do just that. He doesn't seem that angered at this point. So let's see what Alex has to say about the fact that we have video footage of him. And he says, quite strangely, that he's glad the drones are still working. So here's our first strategic option. We can try to calm him down, or we can try to push him in this paranoia. Now remember, his file says he's psychologically unstable, so we're gonna use that against him by trying to intimidate, scare, and push his paranoia as much as we can. So you're gonna say, yes, he's been on our radar. He panics a bit before calming down. So we want to know, why did he stop there? And sure enough, he seems to have been accompanying Father Gabriel. Let's see what he did there. Not much. Okay, so at this point, we want to destabilize this guy. This guy is our main target. Because we know he's psychologically unstable, we might be able to squeeze something out of him. Let's ask him about the explosion. Let's ask him, where was he when the explosion happened? He says he was in a car, so at a safe distance when it happened. Why someone might have chosen that specific building? And he gives us a strange answer. He says because of poor structural design. Again, let's try to push him on this. Again, we can call him down, say it was just a random act of violence, no conspiracy, or deepen his paranoia. Let's do just that. And he tells us that it had to be someone with access, motive, and possibly delusions of power, and someone should really get a team to investigate this. Thank you very much, Alex. That's some great advice right there. You see his pulse is kind of spiking at this point. We've been pushing him, his paranoia. Let's try to get some more emotional leverage on him, see if he knew anyone that got hurt. And again, his theory is that there's a conspiracy here, and he claims that they missed him this time. Bad coordination on their part, whoever they are. So clearly he believes he was the target. Okay, why is that? He says he's sure they were after him, but really, why would anyone want you dead? He doesn't really know. Why would anyone want Father Gabriel dead? He doesn't really know. Again, we have an option here. Let's push his paranoia even further. We think he's onto something, and now he seems scared. He's swearing. He's saying we have to do something. So at this point, he's kind of scared, right? We can push him, but he's not there yet. Let's see what he knows about the Liberation Front. He says he doesn't know who that is, but look at that look he gave us. So he's clearly hiding something, and we want to push him even more so that he admits who they are. We say it's just a bunch of terrorists that need to be brought to justice, and he says until they blow up justice. So he's scared of the Liberation Front, okay? He's kind of worried about them, and he's worried they might be after him, okay? So let's see what he thinks about violence. He doesn't want to think about that. So perhaps he's pushing away some of these feelings. Let's try to trigger him by pushing him into a confession. He hasn't been giving us much. He's been giving us evasive answers. Let's see if we can push him. And sure enough, here it is. He lowers his gaze, he twitches. He tells us that emotions are the devil's gateway. Lock up your emotions. Chain your demons, Alex. So this is something someone told him that he's now repeating to us. And because we've pushed his paranoia so far, we can now nail the final nail in the coffin and tell him that it's the nanobots. They've reached his brain. And now he's just gone. He's bonkers. He's spewing forward random gibberish. But now you're gonna notice here, we have the same questions as before, but if we try to ask him something, he just gives us strange answers, right? But from all these answers, we might be able to get something useful, right? So if we ask him about the 13th floor, he says it's now a graveyard for those that could not be saved. Let's see what he means by that. He says we're born in sin, Alex. Someone again told him this. We're born in sin. Why do you think we don't deserve to be saved? We deserve nothing. Again, this is probably something someone told him. How could you have tried harder to save them, Alex? Smile. Smile and show them how strong you are. Okay, let's see what more we can get by talking about him about the explosion. He says the walls have eyes, so clearly his paranoia is through the roof. Where were you? And he says, let's go home. Okay, so he's linking the explosion with someone telling him to go, let's go home now, Alex. Interesting. So let's go back to that poor structural design things. And he gives us a very weird answer, whispering. He says we do what we must because we choose to. Interesting. What did he choose to do? And he, again, with that weird, twitchy manner of speaking, he tells us the man should give you 3 gallons. Make sure it says nitromethane on them. Bring them over, but don't shake them too hard. So again, he's repeating something he heard, something someone said to him. And for those of you who don't know, nitromethane is a very common ingredient in bomb making. So at this point, we have Alex Novak on tape mentioning bomb ingredients, but also implying somehow that someone told him this. So what we need is to find out who told him this, right? So let's ask him just that. Where do you get your ideas from? And Father Gabriel told me I could choose to be strong, but also that God has a place for me in this plan. So at this point, we can be quite certain that Gabriel Adams has been spewing forward religious extremism onto Alex Novak through Humanitas, which Humanitas seems to have helped Alex, but he's been exposed to all these things and possibly sent to buy actual bomb ingredients. Let's see what more he has for us. Let's talk about the Liberation Front. What do you think about them? How do you feel about their aggressive agenda? And here he says that I think you will, if you believe in something good, you should do everything for it. Let's push him. Even hurting people? And Alex says that no. So he's not a violent person. Even in this state, he's against violence. So someone must have pushed him to buy that. Clearly it wasn't his idea. And when we ask him about the Liberation Front's goals, he links the Liberation Front with what Father Gabriel told him about this new flood that will be God's will. Interesting. Is Alex a member of the front? And he says he's not ready to become a full member of Humanitas. Again, he's linking the Liberation Front to Humanitas. Interesting. So at this point, even if we push him forward, he's not gonna tell us anymore. But he gave us plenty to work with while we tried to break the actual mastermind that was using Novak into all of this. So let's go back. Let's not lead with these questions. Let's first get him more scared. Let's have some personal questions. Let's talk about religion. Since Alex mentioned so many religious things, let's talk about religion with him. Let's see what he thinks about this new biblical flood that Alex mentioned. And he turns the question back on us. We're not gonna fall into his religious trap. We're not gonna show any sympathy towards that. So what does he mean about this flood? Again, keep in mind, what we're doing here is we're getting him to say, to repeat his ideology as extremist as Alex told us that it is on tape, so that we can use that against him. So we need to have these conversations with him so that he tells us that the signs of the flood are there, and he tells us that he wants a virtuous world of peace and love, and that our children will build this promised land, okay? So he wants this new biblical flood to happen. Okay. What we need now is to link him in some way to the actual explosives, because we have, again, if we think in terms of motive, means, and opportunity, his motive could be this religiously motivated new flood. We need a means, right? We need him linked to bombs. So let's mention the nitromethane. And instantly, he scrambles to give us an answer. He asks if Alex really told us that. Oh yeah, he told us many things, and he's starting to sweat. Let's see why he needs this. He says it's fuel for making planes, commercially available, of course, modern airplanes. Okay, why did you send Alex? He says he doesn't remember. I might have done them sometimes. Okay, should we ask Alex anything else? And he tells us to not stress the boy. Look at this priest's pulse, right? He's scared. Let's challenge him. And at this point, we know that we have him on record claiming the apocalypse is coming, as well as others' extremist views. We can say that to him. He sort of replies that no, it's just a new flood. And we have Alex telling us about the nitromethane. So in this instance, we had Alex that was not that, or it's up to you to decide how guilty Alex was, but he was more rather used by Gabriel Adams. And the priest knows it's over. We have too much on tape at this point, and he tells us that we are the unwitting agent of Satan, but he confesses. So, thank you very much for watching.